what they want to acquire, can they get that person, and are they willing to maybe give up a better tier of prospect?
I feel like Ken will appreciate this. It's the Inside Scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Todd Father and I have deep conversations during commercial breaks, so we were trying to decide what went down before toothpaste was invented for mankind. So just letting everyone know. That's all. I will move right to baseball.
Well, Ken's that old. He should know.
Well, I felt like Ken. Wow. Shots fired. I was saying it because sometimes Ken has his phone and Todd's like, who is that or what's going on? So I just wanted to let him know how much important business is going on our side. So anyway, Ken, good to see you. We have many fan questions, so we'll mix some of those in. But let's start with some of your work in The Athletic. I know you are part of the group that puts the trade deadline watch together. Can you give us an update on the Washington Nationals?
Well, it's no surprise. They're going to sell. And what's interesting to me is it's not just going to be the players on expiring contracts, Jesse Winker, Dylan Floro, both of whom should be reasonably attractive, but because their rentals won't bring much in return. But they're also open on Lane Thomas and Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey. All three of those guys have another year of control. So the price would be higher. The return should be better. And Thomas is an outfielder in a market starved for outfielders. Finnegan and Harvey, they're relievers, and everyone always wants relievers. So I don't know that the Nationals are going to make a Juan Soto blockbuster with any of these guys. But if they trade most of them, they should get some quality back. And we've seen what they have. Their core, their young core is really impressive. The Soto trade was a bonanza of all bonanzas. And now you're seeing the fruits of that with James Wood coming up and Gore succeeding and CJ Abrams an all-star and more to come. So they're in a great spot. They're going to need to spend some money this offseason to supplement what they have. But again, other teams would love to have the group of young players that the Nationals do right now.
Talk about bullpen depth. There's a couple, not a couple. There's a bunch of teams that need it. One specifically would be the Phillies. I think going out here, trade deadline looming a little bit. Do you see them being buyers of bullpen arms coming up shortly?
I do. And for them, it's not terribly urgent. Their bullpen is so good, and they have so many different weapons. Not a pure closer, but Alvarado, the two All-Stars, and Hoffman and Strahm, Kerkering, go right down the line. Soto, all these guys, Sir Anthony Dominguez. That's six right there. That's pretty good. But teams are always looking for more. And if they can get another reliever, I imagine that they will. Dave Dombrowski also wants to add a right-handed outfielder, perhaps, to platoon with Brandon Marsh. They don't have to do anything big. They've got a great team. We've seen that team play. But I imagine Dombrowski will work around the edges. I don't see them trading for Luis Robert Jr. to answer everyone's question because, again, they don't necessarily have a need for that kind of guy right now. Everyone would love to have Robert Jr., of course. But they also want to preserve what they have in young talent, the prospects coming, to balance their payroll in the years ahead.
Kind of a connection between the Nats and the Phillies here. I heard John Middleton talk the other day. They're $7 million under the next luxury threshold, and that will cost them draft picks, international signing bonuses. And John Middleton's exact quote was, I could care less. I'll spend however much money it takes us to win, but I don't want to lose that draft capital. Is there a chance when you talk about a Nats team that sits there and goes, okay, we might need to make a move this offseason, that they would take somebody's contract on during this trade deadline? Or is that all an off-season move? Because I think about a Nick Castellanos, and that would open up $20 million for the Phillies and Dombrowski to make a huge move that nobody sees coming.
Well, that's a great question, Eric. And certainly that scenario is the kind of thing that I don't know that it will be kicked around, but it makes sense, right? If they're the Phillies and you're concerned about the next threshold, that's the way to get around it. You trade Castellanos, you get Luis Robert Jr., right? I don't think they're going to do that. They love their vibe. Castellanos is part of that. But at the same time, the Nationals, this is perhaps the better part of the question. Could they take on a contract right now to maybe get a young player alongside that guy? Yeah, they could. Now, it's always a question with them where they're going with payroll. Remember, they were for sale, they weren't for sale, they're for sale again, not for sale. And their ownership has been, I don't want to call it cheap because that's not fair over the years. They've signed some big money contracts, but they have not been an ownership that necessarily goes to the last mile with payroll. That's been obviously proven. So I don't know that they're ready to do that just yet. And I don't know that they should do that just yet. They can enter a very active and lively free agent market this winter, one that's full of really good players, and go about it that way. But all of these things, these kinds of ideas, are ideas that do get kicked around. And it's interesting, Eric, that you brought it to my attention that way or brought it up that way, because that's something there you can see the logic with, even if it doesn't really happen.
Ken, what are a team like the Cardinals going to do? They've obviously gotten back into the race. Are they going to? Is it a possibility? And this is a fan question. Would they possibly move on from a Jordan Walker? Now I see a Dylan Carlson and someone like that obviously being on the block, but would they possibly use someone like Jordan Walker to get a piece they need to make a run for these playoffs?
I doubt it, AJ. And I know it's going to be a topic of discussion, but Jordan Walker is in AAA right now, not really hitting all that well. They're trying to make some adjustments with him, and he's trying to get to a point where he is a better player than he's been. He has all the promise in the world, but you'd be trading him at a low point, right? You'd be selling low. And we all know the Cardinals have been burned in trading outfielders over the years, one after another. Lane Thomas is one, Randy Arozarena. I can go right down the list. Fans know all about this. I'm not sure they want to make that move with Jordan Walker just yet. They have other major league pieces that they will be able to move because of their injured players coming back. Newt Barr came back last night. Ivan Herrera, the catcher, is about to come back, and then they're expecting Tommy Edmonds sometime after the break. He's been out all year with a wrist thing. Who knows how that's going to go? But they have the ability, as you mentioned, to trade a Dylan Carlson, to trade a Herrera, and do some things in that way to get what they want. Now, what should they want? They're left-handed, too left-handed. They want some right-handed hitting. Obviously, Goldschmidt and Arenado succeeding in a better way would really impact that. And also a starting pitcher. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach that. They've got this rotation that some of us questioned as far as going into the season with because it's older. 4 guys 34 or older. They've done extremely well for the most part. A couple of bad starts here and there, but it's been a successful rotation. Do they need one more? Yes, I would say they need one more. Palante's done great for them in the rotation, but there's always the chance you could move him back to the bullpen. And my goodness, if one of these guys gets hurt, the 34 or older group, you're kind of in a difficult spot. So I can see them looking for a starter as well as some offensive help.
Ken, I'm going to combine 3 fan questions here because there's some Yankees chatter, there's some Marlins chatter, and always appreciate the fans with the super chats too. So I'll read the 3. Here's William. Ken, do you believe Jazz Chisholm and DLC, I'm assuming he's talking about De La Cruz, will be dealt? And then there's a question about the Yankees, any chance that they go after Kopech? And the reason I put those 2 together is the third one here from Raikia, question for Ken. Yankees need speed and athleticism in their lineup. Do you see them trading for Jazz Chisholm and Tanner Scott for the Marlins for Glaber and 2 prospects? Will the Marlins do it? I'll actually just do the one part of saying no Glaber. He's going to be free agent after this year. There's no value to the Marlins. But anyway, do what you please with all of that.
Okay. Chisholm is going to get traded. I don't think there's much question about that. The only question is which team. Would he fit for the Yankees at second base? Sure he would. And he would give them more speed and athleticism. Yes, all that is true. But Gleyber Torres is still there, and he's not going back to the Marlins, as you mentioned, Scott, because he's a potential free agent. In fact, I believe it was 2 off seasons ago, there was talk of Gleyber to the Marlins, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. So that part of it I don't see. The Yankees and Kopech, sure, they're going to be looking at all of the relievers. There's no doubt about that. Kopech does have strikeout stuff. That's what they're looking for. He has not had a great season, so I don't know how they view him right now, and we'll just have to see how that goes. What's the third question? I think I'm missing one here.
So you said Kopech. We went over Jazz and DLC. And the only other name I think we didn't get to was Tanner Scott.
Well, he'll be traded, and he's one of the top relievers available. The Yankees are on him, as are any number of teams looking for bullpen help. Brian De La Cruz has more club control. That's why he's not most likely to get moved. But Tanner Scott, potential free agent, having a really good season. And sure, you can see that happening. And I would definitely expect that to happen, for sure.
Can I just double down for a moment on Jazz? Why do you think he'll definitely be traded? Because there is still team control involved. Is it just because the Marlins are terrible, this is a good asset, and he can play multiple positions?
Bingo. He is a guy that certainly is something that you can trade to get something back for. And the Marlins have shown that they will trade players with control. Arias was one, of course. And then with Jazz, yeah, he can play center field, could play second base, I assume, for a team like the Mariners. A lot of people say, well, why not shortstop? He's not a shortstop. So that part of it is probably not going to happen. But he is a guy that is going to be interesting to a lot of teams. And the Marlins, anybody making money, anybody who can bring them something back is most likely going to go.
You know the Rays are always looking to move off people, and you talked about right-handed bats, outfield bats. Randy Arozarena, are they going to be willing to move off of him? And if not, why? Is it his value? Is it his struggling? Because he's always a playoff contender.
They're one of these teams, the Rays, that the next 2 weeks are critical for them. And they're kind of in that mediocre mix of clubs where they're kind of in, kind of not in, and the next 2.5, 3 weeks will decide probably their direction. Now, they can do any number of things. If they get hot, they can certainly act as buyers. If they just fall apart, they can sell and sell quite a bit. Bullpen guys like Fairbanks, for instance, Randy Arozarena, Zach Eflin, all of these pieces will be in play. And the other thing for the Rays, and we talk about this all the time, guys, it's not necessarily a binary equation here. They can buy and sell at the same time, which is something that they've done in the past. It's something that enables them to compete for the rest of the season while accounting for the future a little bit. So I would say what happens in the next 2.5 weeks for them is absolutely critical. It's the same for the Texas Rangers, who look like they're starting to get hot. A lot of things will be determined by what happens here. It's almost as if the playoffs are starting in July for these teams. The Reds are another one. I could go right down the list. There are probably a half dozen to a dozen of these clubs that are not sure where they are and are going to need more information before the deadline to determine their course.
Another fan question here from Michael. What is more likely for the Orioles? Mike Elias swings big for another ace for tier 1 prospects or threads the needs and trades for a solid 2 for 2 prospect tiers.
They're going to trade for a starter. I'm pretty confident of that. I don't know about prospect tiers, but as I mentioned on Fair Territory yesterday, and I actually got the names wrong, they've got only 3 starters under control for next year that are currently in their rotation. It's Grayson Rodriguez, it's Dean Kramer, and it's Cade Povich, the kid. So they need help. They're going to need, going into next season, as many as 3 starting pitchers. Can't accomplish that all in free agency, or they don't want to anyway. So they're going to need to trim their prospect pool a little bit to get the starter that they need. They've done this once already this season. In getting Corbin Burns, it looks like a great trade for them, even though it was 1 year of control, and even though you lost a guy in Joey Ortiz who might be an all-star. They've got prospects stacked in the infield and in the outfield. They can do some things. It's a question of what they want to acquire. Can they get that person? And are they willing to maybe give up a better tier of prospect to get a Garrett Crochet, for instance?
Ken, I'm going to move on to the Brewers. I know we've spoken about them a bit, and you wrote about right before they made a trade, the fact that they might kind of play on the margins and not go big. So just kind of a basic question here from OC. Do you expect the Brewers to do anything? That's obviously a pretty broad question. So I guess, do you still feel like Milwaukee's not going to be a player for, say, one of the top few guys available? But if so, do you still think they'll be a very active team at the trade deadline? It's just not those major moves that, they usually kind of avoid, right?
They've already been active. They've traded for Aaron Savali, and they've signed Dallas Keuchel, who gave them a pretty good start the other day. So they, like other teams, are looking at the next few weeks as an information base of sorts. And they're going to see what they have and determine where Devin Williams is coming back for the bullpen, where the rotation is. Do they need to add more? I expect that they will be active looking, but I would say that still what we wrote, that they're not going to do anything major, would be in line with their philosophy over all of these years. They have never really been a huge player at the deadline. They've done things, but they haven't done the big things. And that's just how they roll. They are in position to maybe make a big trade because they have a number of young outfielders in particular, but I just don't see them being that team. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it would be counter to the way they've operated over the years under owner Mark Attanasio. And money is part of this. There's no question about it. They are a low revenue team and they don't want to go for broke, trade kids for an expensive player that might not be there very long.
Well, I kind of brought this up last week about how this is different than other years, and they are a big player. They dropped Hader to the Padres which now David Stern said on the show and other places, maybe I misread the clubhouse on that one. Devin Williams is still an elite level, maybe the best closer in the game. I know he's been hurt. Is it possible the guy who they thought about trading in the offseason or kind of in the Hader line could bring them that number one starter that they're looking for, or maybe a number two starter that they're looking for? Because Trevor McGill's been doing freaking awesome. So they've gotten here without Devin Williams. Is that a possibility, or is that something that always comes out of nowhere and you don't really hear about it till it happens?
Well, that is the kind of thing that comes out of nowhere and I won't hear about till it happens. But I would say the answer to that is no. And the way I'm seeing them and what I'm hearing from them is they are worried about their bullpen, which has been taxed, of course. It's performed very well, but you're starting to see some erosion right now. Devin Williams amounts to their best trade deadline addition. Now, you're right. They could trade him probably for some pretty big pieces. I don't know that you would ever get a number one or two starter for a closer, but at the same time, it's Devin Williams. It's a special cat. I don't see that happening, Eric, but again, it's an interesting idea. And teams, as they approach the deadline, and this kind of stuff will all take place after the draft, which is Sunday. And the way they look at it is, all right, everyone's available. We can do anything we want, but let's see what we think is realistic. So they'll talk about everything. And I imagine, I'm actually certain that teams will ask about Devin Williams. I'm just not sure the Brewers will want to go there.
All right, last licks here, Ken. I got two more for you on teams. Steven asking about the Tigers winning games and if they're sellers. It's buyer-seller talk here for them. And then I had to throw this one in there because the name is Justin Rosenthal. I'm assuming no relationship unless there's a Justin in the fan. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it to Justin.
Definitely.
Are the Giants sellers or buyers at the deadline? So Tigers and Giants. And I know a lot can change. That could be an answer for one here, right?
Tigers are a seller. And I expect that they will move Jack Flaherty, assuming he's healthy. He's scheduled to pitch on Thursday, come back from 2 injections in his lower back. He has not been on the injured list, but they've pushed his starts back twice. Supposedly he is fine. As long as he's fine, they've got to clear the bar of a draft pick compensation if he left as a free agent with a qualifying offer, but I would expect that they would do that. Jack Flaherty was not a great deadline addition last year, but he's pitched much better this year. It looks like he might finally be coming into his own. They also have a number of relievers that are going to get attention. Most of them, yes, almost all of them are under club control beyond this season, including Andrew Chafin and some others. I don't know that they will trade them, but they'll certainly entertain offers for those kinds of guys. They need offense. We all know they need offense. For anyone who might be asking, I don't expect them to move Tarek Skubal. It would be kind of counterproductive to trade a guy who might win the Cy Young, but it's worth mentioning. So them I see as a seller. The Giants, they're another team that is assessing and trying to figure out who they are. Also have played better of late, and it looks like they might finally be coming on a little bit. Blake Snell returns tonight. So the next couple of weeks, again, I'm sounding like a broken record, are going to be critical. But they've invested so much in their club this year. They brought in Bob Melvin. I would expect that they're not going to punt on this season easily, if at all. We've seen some good things happen with them. Elliot Ramos has emerged as an all-star. Luis Matos also playing well. They've got a young catcher in Patrick Bailey. They have some interesting things going on, and they've got really good pitching. They just need to start playing at a more consistent level than they have really for the first part of the season. If they do that, I expect them to look to complement what they have. If they collapse over the next couple of weeks, sure, then they could sell.
Ken, you crushed it. You're off the hot seat. Great work. And we are all grateful for toothpaste, just to go full circle here. But appreciate you, Ken. Thank you very much. That was great. Fans were really excited. I told them that we would kind of dedicate this one today to them. So we will see you tomorrow, and a reminder for everyone about Fair Territory on Thursday. See you then. We're staying here for a couple minutes while the other audience on TV is chilling. We've got Todd Father with the full setup. So this is how the original Manscaped kit gets sent, and that's a nice message there too.
Your balls will thank you. Hey, it's the truth.
What is that? Your balls will thank you.
Yes.
All right, dudes.
Great kit.
So Manscaped has their newest package, the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. That includes the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which you can see in there. That's the big boy taking up the most space. Not the model, 2 spots to the right of him, okay? It's the 5th generation trimmer featuring 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Also has the dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3 length-setting combs, and best of all, waterproof for you. So there's free gifts in there. Behind all of the cool stuff that Todd Father was showing, there's the boxers and the Shed travel bag. So you can get a piece of this. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offer, 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code FOUL, FOUL20. It's summertime at Manscaped. And AJ, I think I took apart some of your Manscaped package.
Equipment.
So
you took it. I got it and you took it. So I don't have one.
Hey everybody, be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
baseball the way it should be covered.